This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview. Several hundred. Power Metal Resources are in attendance at the prestigious Rule Symposium, the industry's leading closed-door event known for linking attendees with foremost resource experts worldwide. Rick Rule, a well-established figure in the natural resources industry, through his company Term Oil Incorporated, has backed Power Metal Resources, investing in a 4.51% shareholding back in May. And Rule describes Power Metal Resources as a junior merchant bank. Now, Power are attending the event in order to demonstrate their explore, develop, crystallize business model to a new high net worth audience, predominantly US-based, interested in natural resources. Sean Wade, the CEO of Power, took centre stage on Tuesday to present an overview of the company's priorities, its emphasis on a uranium portfolio and Saudi Arabia, and why it is a worthwhile investment proposition. Well, earlier in the day, I spoke to Sean to ask him how the event has been going. Well, first of all, Sean, have you had a chance to meet Rick at the event yet and had a chat about the sector and, more importantly, though, his feelings on POW?
Yes, absolutely. Well, look, first of all, thanks very much indeed for having me. Yes, we did actually. In fact, I've seen Rick several times. He's very accessible, and he wanders around the conference hall and engages with everybody. So yeah, we've had several chats. We had a sit down with him last night, talked a bit about things we want to do with the business, and give him an update. And look, it very engaged and a great meeting. He's like us. He's very bullish on commodity markets. And he's very keen on our model. I think he's been clear on that. He loves what he calls the merchant banking model, and we've been pushing that angle very strongly to his investors. I think that's really landing. There's been very, very good engagement, and people really understand our story.
Great. And how did the presentation go yesterday?
Well, it's very, very, very well. I think. I mean, I think we got across what we wanted to say. So, explain the model. What it is that Power is all about. What we're trying to do, how we explore, we develop, and we crystallize. And I think your viewers, I know, are very familiar with our story. But we're talking to a new audience here, and to a large extent. And it was very important to get the basics of the business model across. In 20 minutes, obviously, we can't go through absolutely everything. As we all know, it's quite a complex story and a big portfolio. So, we highlighted a few of the things that we've been talking about a lot recently. We talked about our uranium business partly because obviously there's a very bullish view here on uranium, so that's landing really well with investors. We talked about the Saudi Arabian opportunity, which we've recently been speaking to with investors at home, but also the African assets. I mean, Malopo and Tati, people are really focused here on the transition, the battery metals. So talking about what we've achieved with Malopo and what we hope to do in respect to a transaction there, is something that people really latched onto. So, it's been great and a great opportunity to talk about the story.
And how lively has the show been? Can you give us a sense of the vibe on the ground?
Well, I mean, there are, I don't know how many hundreds of people or so here, but there's a lot of people. So there's a main ballroom with speakers, as is normal in these kind of conferences, and then there's a hall which we're in where we have a booth. You can see a little bit of that behind me, and people split their time between listening to the presentations and then coming out and talking to us. And what's interesting actually is, a lot of the presentations are, well, I mean, obviously they're commodity focused, but some of them are enormously bullish, very, very passionate and exciting speakers. And often what happens is people come out full of the sort of right, uranium, right, nickel. Okay, where we, and they look around and they come and see you and say, okay, so how do we play this? And it's a pretty sophisticated audience. They understand commodity markets. And one of the things that's been very exciting is we've been able to talk about our plans for the US OTC listing, which is of great interest, obviously, to North American investors. But a good number of them are saying, well, actually, we are able to deal on the AIM market anyway, because these are sophisticated guys and they're able to make those bets. So we are definitely finding, great. I mean, I've had a number of people tell me that they've been buying shares and they intend to buy shares as well. So, certainly from that point of view, it's been a great success.
Well, that's good to hear. I mean, do you have any idea sort of how many people have stopped by the power stand and what the level of interest has been? Have you managed to hold their attention for more than a couple of minutes?
Well, I've got, first thing I should say is I've got my colleague Mita with me who looks after our IR, and she's been working incredibly hard to make sure that we zap people when they come to the booth. So you have a little badge with a barcode on it. And what you're able to do is with an app, you can zap the QR code. That gives people's details straight into our system. We're then able to immediately follow up with them with all of our corporate information, with the presentations, and also, of course, the research report that's recently been written about us. So people come along, we engage them, we chat to them about the story, and then we're able to immediately connect them with our information. So it's a really efficient system. And I mean, look, I could say, dozens and dozens. I mean, we work all day. We get down here at 7 a.m, work all the way through till sort of 5:30 p.m. when there's usually an evening social event or something. So it's it's proper work, and we've got sort of 2 more days to go. I mean, I'm talking to you now at 9:15. Yeah, we've got all day today, all day tomorrow, and then we come home.
Well, it's good to hear that there's been a lot of interest, particularly, as you say, from sophisticated investors who say they can access the AIM market. That's nice. And good to hear some anecdotal reports that people have already bought some shares. Talking about the show in general, would you say this year's show has had a particular focus or particular appetite from investors in a certain commodity or sector?
There's a lot of talk about gold. There is a lot of talk about, the sort of beg your pardon, there's a lot of talk about, the global monetary system, the inflation, the interest rate cycle, and there are a lot of people here who are interested in gold, which is great for us because we can talk about Tati, for example, which people are not necessarily as familiar with African gold assets here as they might be ones in Canada and the US. That's been a great opportunity to get that story across. Uranium's a big focus. I mean, Rick, famously is a long-term bull of uranium, but I'm looking at ahead of me. I've got a company marketing its vanadium assets. There's exploration companies for gold and silver, copper. I mean, all of the commodities that we talk about, and of course, fundamentally the green transition metals. The ones that we tend to talk about a lot. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty much across the group, but I would say gold and uranium would be the standout ones for me.
Okay. Well, of course, you mentioned earlier that Rick Rule describes Power as a junior merchant bank. Do you know why he describes that? If you don't, I don't want to sort of you to talk on his behalf. Would you be able to ask him and maybe get a soundbite for us?
Well, yeah. Look, as far as he's concerned, it's the incubator model that he likes. Okay, so it's the ability to not to be a passive investor, to be an active investor. So take on an asset and add value to it. That's what allows you to then monetize and increase that value. So there's I think 2 ways of looking at it. From a mining point of view. On the one hand, you could be an explorer, take an asset, multiple assets, take them all the way from discovery through to development and into production. We know that's difficult. We know that that's expensive. We know that that's a tried and tested and great model for a lot of companies. But that's, as everybody knows, that's not what we do. Equally, you could be a more passive investor. One thinks of ETFs, for example, and there's the Sprott guys, for example, are here talking about their model. And of course, that's an investment on rising commodity markets. Where we're differentiated, and what I think has really landed with people here is, we're doing both of those things, but we are an active investor. So I would like to think of it. So we're taking an asset, we're adding value to it, and then we seek to crystallize that value over time. So whether that's in the case of Malopo with a strategic joint venture, or it's the case of Gold Metal with an IPO spin out, FDR obviously, which is probably it's the most immediate IPO issue for the business at the moment. We're actively marketing it right now. Again, we talked about that with Rick. We've talked about that with a lot of investors here and some of the investment banking guys as well. And again, a good response. People like Australia. They like the pure play and so on. So I think going back to your point about the model, it is quite well understood, and Rick is also keen to push it. And he's, what people will have seen the YouTube interview. I think I did with him some weeks ago prior to the conference, which he brings that point out very strongly.
Okay. Well, finally, Sean, you mentioned it's been very busy. You've got another couple of days to go. How are you and the team feeling after, nearly 3 days of being at the show, at the symposium? Do you feel you've achieved what you wanted to and invigorated to push on with growing the company?
Absolutely. I mean, look, we're hugely energized. There's a tremendous amount of energy here at the conference. I mean, you can probably hear a little bit of the background noise. It's a fantastic event. We're very excited about the opportunity and to talk to people. Very excited to follow up with them and engage going forward. So it's not just a question of seeing people, shaking their hand, giving them information. It's about following up, and we're building really great relationships, which I know are going to carry the business forward.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Sean Wade, CEO of Power Metal Resources, for joining me from the Rule Symposium in Florida.
Thanks very much, Mark.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stopboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.